Our second story out front. The state of Texas tries to enforce an ID law that could keep more than 1 million people from voting in the presidential election. It's one of 11 states with new laws requiring voters to show a photo ID. A Justice Department lawyer says that 1.4 million people in Texas don't have a photo ID. States with a history of voting rights violations, which include Texas, need permission from the Justice Department before they can change election rules. So today, the two sides took the issue to federal court. Roland Martin is here, CNN contributor, and Alice Stewart, Republican strategist. Great to see you both. Roland, let me just start off with you. Explain the basics here. People with a driver's license, they have a voter, a picture. They may be saying, I don't understand this. How could 1.4 million people not have a photo ID? Tell me who these people are.
Well, a lot of people don't have it because you're not necessarily required. So you're talking about senior citizens. You're also talking about any number of minorities because if you're not necessarily having a checking account, you're not actually showing it. What's interesting about the Texas law, and I'm a native of Texas, I'm in Houston right now, is they also don't allow a student ID, Erin. Now, the Georgia law allowed for the Texas for the public university students to use their student ID, but not private schools. But in Texas, you can use your gun permit ID to be able to vote, but not a student ID. That's what's so crazy. But also the legislature, in passing this bill, bypassed the normal procedure of 2/3 voting to approve the bill. They bypassed that to get this in. And so it raises the question, why would you do that? Why would you go against your normal procedure to pass this bill compared to others?
Alice, let me ask you a question, because obviously I don't need to be a genius to recognize what Roland was saying. If gun permit pictures are okay and student IDs aren't, that will skew Republican.
Well, first of all, the whole purpose for this is to prevent voter fraud and to combat a culture of election fraud and to bring about free and fair and lawful elections. And the good thing about the law in Texas that these voter IDs, they're free of charge. And also, when you go to the polls, there's also a provision where you can go, if you go to the polls that day and you don't have your ID, you can cast a provisional ballot, and you have, depending on what state, you have 6 to 10 days to present your ID. So exactly. So no one's turned away from voting. You can vote. You just have to get your proper ID. Look, voting is a privilege in this country, and there are certain requirements that we all have. All three of us here, we have certain requirements that we need in order to cast a ballot.
What she just said, Erin, is shameful. When you say voting is a privilege, these are the same people. We talk about our troops overseas fighting for the American way, democracy, our power and our vote. Now all of a sudden it's a privilege? No. Any Republican, any Democrat, any independent should be saying voting is a fundamental right in this country. Now, Erin, what also is troubling about this is that the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, this shadowy group out of Washington, D.C., they have lots of corporate funders. Change.org really exposed them. They begin to lead these efforts. The reality is it's a partisan issue because we've seen these laws all of a sudden crop up since 2010 when many state houses flipped to the GOP. And what's also interesting in terms of what they're pushing and talking about it's a privilege is that when you deny 1 million people and then you're saying the corruption of voter fraud, the National Republican lawyers only found 340 cases of voter fraud over a 10-year period in all of America.
So let's give Alice a chance to respond to that.
Deny 1 million people for what percentage?
Right, Alice, he has a fair point here.
Well, to just make sure we get all the facts out there, Texas itself has already tried 50 cases, and currently in Texas alone, there are almost 250 cases pending that are to be investigated that involve dead people casting ballots. And keep in mind, we're not talking about huge presidential elections that are decided by tens of thousands of votes. Many of these races come down to just a handful of votes. We're talking about state house races that are critical. So if you're a candidate on either side of the aisle, you want to make sure that these elections are fair and lawful.
Alice,
there are vote harvesters going all over, getting all kinds of votes.
I want to say, I remember a time, Alice, when I was 17 years old, and a guy that I'd known my whole life, Richard, he was almost 60. He was African-American. He'd never voted, and he was intimidated about reading the ballot. So we spent all summer working on it, getting him to vote, and he actually voted that time. He voted for President Clinton. And I always remember that when I hear these stories, because people are afraid, and it shouldn't be that way. And don't you think that some of these laws make people more afraid?
No, I think, and that's great that he was able to cast his ballot, and that's fantastic. But it's very important that no one's turned away. Anyone can go get a free ID. Anyone can go to the polls and vote. You just have to get your ID. And this is to help make elections for everyone, whether you're a Republican candidate or a Democrat candidate. You want to make sure that every vote is fair and it's lawful. So it's important for everyone to come and follow all the laws that are on the books in every state.
Quick final
word,
Roland.
What she's not saying, Erin, is that many counties, there are a number of counties in Texas, don't even have a Department of Public Safety office to get your ID. And so where do they get it? But the other deal is this here. People who are illegal immigrants can get a driver's license in Texas. So how can you pass that law, but then say you can have a driver's license to vote, but you pass that law, but then you say voter fraud? Well, that makes no sense.
Okay, we'll leave it on that note. Thanks to both of you. Appreciate it.